Right guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to do a quick service on a DT Swiss ratchet hub. That could be a 240 ratchet or a 350 hub. As long as it's a road ratchet hub, then this will apply to that wheel. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you the steps. Right, so here's the hub in question. As you can see, it's a 240. Yes, this is hub. So there's a couple of different ways of removing it. I say, if you've got it like this and you've got no cassette on it, then you're not going to be able to, unless you've had it apart before, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get hold of that freehub body and pull it off by hand, because believe it or not, it's just the end cap that's holding it on. So if you're removing it and you haven't got a cassette on it like so, the best thing to do is get a vise with some soft jaws in it and then literally lay the wheel in the vise like so, and then clamp it up so the soft jaws are just touching the end cap that's sticking down here, and then just lightly, don't go over tighten and crush them. If you just nip it up enough so you can pull up on the actual wheel, use the whole wheel to pull up on, then the end cap should pop off. So that's one way of doing it. I'll say they'll be tight on there. If you think you can't get hold of it and pull it off by hand, obviously, unless you've had it apart before, you might be able to, but it's very highly unlikely you're going to be able to get hold of that and just pull it and it's going to pop off. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is obviously put the if you just remove the wheel from your bike, you've got a cassette on there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead, I'll put a cassette on there, and I'll show you the other way to do it when you've got a cassette fitted. Right, so if you've got the cassette on your bike already, and if not, you can always fit a cassette on there and just lightly do up the lock ring just by hand. You don't have no need to over tighten it. You can just tighten that by hand just so it's holding the cassette on. If you want to remove the cassette, the best thing to do is just crack the lock ring undone first if you're going to take the cassette off afterwards, so otherwise obviously the freehub body is going to be stuck inside the cassette, so it's better to crack the lock ring undone first if you're going to change your cassette at the same time, or you're taking your cassette off to clean it up at the same time as you're going to do the freehub. So that's just something to bear in mind. Obviously if it's like this, now what you got to do is just put your hands under both sides of the cassette like so, and then basically just push against the spokes and pull up at the same time, and it will be tight. There you go, it's popped off like so. Now you can just pull the cassette up off of there like so. Obviously it just lifts up now, so you go ahead and you can we'll remove the cassette off of there and out of the freehub body inside it. So just go ahead and slide that gently off of there, and you'll be left with something looking like that. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you the next step. Right, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and just removed the cassette off the freehub body there, as you can see. So you've got freehub body which looks like that. It just comes, you can just slide straight off of there. You've got the end cap that goes on there like so. So you put that to one side, then you've got the freehub body. You've got a bearing in either end of the freehub body there, so you can just go ahead and stick that on your finger and give it a spin to make sure it doesn't feel notchy or gravelly or anything. Make sure it's spinning freely. So you can, so while you got it apart, just check that. Obviously, just check the condition of the teeth inside. Make sure that none of the teeth are damaged or anything like that while you've got it in your hand, so you can actually check them. So you can put that on one side, then you've got the spring there, it just lifts off. Obviously you make a note which way it goes, the small end of the spring pointing downwards. So you can put that to one side, then you've got the teeth, the ratchets themselves. There's two of them, so obviously they come apart like so. Obviously one side's smooth, one side's got the teeth on it, so obviously the teeth go together to make it actually work. so when you're freewheeling or when you're pedaling, so you can lift them out like so. You want to check the teeth on those, obviously. Check for any damage on the teeth all over, and the teeth on the faces. While you've got them out, make sure they're not cracked or anything like that. So you can put them to one side for a minute. And obviously you've got a collar as well that slides up off there as well. Put that to one side, and then down in there you've got another, I won't be able to get it I don't think, but you've got another ratchet, you've got another spring, sorry, down in there. It's not going to come out, so I haven't got a screwdriver to hand. There's another spring in there, so you can just get that up out of there with a little screwdriver. And just check the teeth in there as well. So I'll go ahead and show you all the bits that I've removed to one side, and we go ahead and we'll have to get them cleaned up. So to get the last spring out of there, it's just sat down in there. You can just get a little screwdriver and just ease it up out of there. Put that to one side. Right, so now we've got the parts removed, the Freehub body and the associated parts. You can see down in there, obviously you've got, just check that your teeth are all in, there's none missing or nothing's damaged while you got it apart. And also you can just pick the wheel up off the ground, you can just spin that shaft sticking out of there as well, just to feel what the wheel bearing's like as well. Just make sure there's no play in it or anything. Right, so once you've got your component parts cleaned up and you're happy with them, you inspected them, make sure there's no visible damage to them, and you've also cleaned inside your inside the hub itself. I'll show you that. You've just given that a clean in there and cleaned any old grease off. The best way to do that is don't spray any degreaser or anything inside there. Just use a rag or put some degreaser onto a paintbrush and just clean in there gently with the wheel on its side, because you don't want to flood in there, because obviously if you're spraying degreaser in there, all you're doing is effectively degreasing the wheel bearings by spraying it in there, or putting an excessive amount of degreaser in there. So if it is dirty in there, so if yours is dirty, then make sure you just use a paintbrush and just with a rag, and don't spray it in there, otherwise all you're doing is effectively ruining your wheel bearings. So once you've done that, the same goes for the Freehub body itself. Don't spray it into the bearings when you're trying to clean this. Just use a paintbrush and just wash it out on an angle, so it's not actually going into the bearing itself. Just wash it round like so, and then stand it like so it drains out onto some paper, and just leave it till it's evaporated properly before you go ahead and reassemble the bits. So when it comes to reassembling, obviously you need the grease, DT Swiss grease, the 20 GR red grease like so, and a little pot of this will last you lifetime of your hub easy, because you hardly need anything of it. So once you get your pot opened up like so, just get a paintbrush, find yourself a paintbrush like that. Obviously what you want to do is you can get your ratchets like so, and you can paint the grease. And you don't need a lot of this grease. There's no point in putting loads over everything, because it's not worth it. You don't need a lot of it. You're just literally painting a film over it basically. You're not dunking it in and literally filling it with grease, because it won't work properly if you do that. If anyone was thinking of changing their ratchets, now's the best time to do it. Obviously with these DT Swiss ratchets, with this hub like this, you can get different engagement ratchets. I'll show you. That's an 18 tooth, that's what will come in the hubs as standard. If you can see that there, it's an 18 tooth ratchet, so the face here, you can see the engagements on the face there. And this one, you can see the difference. How many teeth are on there compared to that one. That's an 18 tooth ratchet, that is, and that's a 54 tooth. Obviously you can get in betweens, you can get a 24 or 36 ratchet as well as this 18 and a 54. So you go ahead and upgrade your ratchets at the same time if you want to. They're not cheap to upgrade. Basically, I think this is a 54 tooth racing ratchet. Obviously, the more teeth on it, and the higher the number, then the more maintenance it requires. So it's no good for just everyday riding unless you're maintaining it every couple of weeks. Really, you got to keep on top of it if you fit in the these upgraded ratchets. But like I said, with the grease, all you need to do is just get some grease on the end of the paintbrush, like so, to start with. And then just basically paint it over the faces, the mating faces. Just dab it over. You hardly need anything. You just put a bit of colour onto it, basically, like so. And you can go ahead and just dust some round the outside faces of the actual ratchets themselves. Like so. Just keep spinning it around, just put a bit on. So that's one, like so. Then just get the other one, do the same thing again with that one. Just paint it over the teeth. Like so. And once you've got the outside teeth coated, like that, so they're both coated, like so. You just go ahead, you can place them together like that. So you know, obviously the teeth go together. That's the idea of the ratchet. So you know they're the right way. No good putting the flat side against one another. The teeth have got to be facing each other, obviously, on the surface there. You can go ahead and get your freehub body itself and just paint in. Just put some on the teeth there, inside the. Just give that a quick coating. I say it doesn't need a lot. You're just basically putting a film over it. And that's all you're doing. Put it over there like so. So it's just got a film over it, and you can go ahead and do the inside on the wheel as well. You can just go ahead and paint a film over the inside of the. Get some on your brush, then go to the wheel, and then just paint some into there. And also, what you want to do once you've dabbed a bit in there, like so, just give it a bit of a coat. Then what you want to do is, after you've done that, make sure that you put some. You can get some on the end of your finger, and just make sure there's something on this shaft here, because if you don't grease that, and then you try and get it off again, and then the freehub body, if you haven't had it off for a while and it's got seized on there, if you do a lot of wet weather riding, say, or winter riding, and it's got seized on, then you'll be in trouble trying to get it back off again, because obviously the bearings inside there, they can get stuck on there because that's aluminium. The bearings obviously steel there, so when that slides over they can get stuck to one another, which I have known them get stuck, and once they're on there you have got a job to get them off. And the other thing is the plastic ring that will go on next. Obviously make sure you put a smear of grease on the inside of this before you slide it over to the shaft. Make sure that's greased. So go over, get that greased up. Right, so once you've got the greasing done, you're ready to reassemble it. Now you can put the plastic collar back over there and just slide that on all the way down to the bottom, so it just rests against the bottom there. So you get that on first, and then you got your springs. Obviously you got the biggest, you get the largest part at the bottom, so you go ahead and put that on and just sit that down into the in there like so, into the hub like that. And obviously you got your ratchets like so. Go ahead and drop them over there like that. Obviously you can, if you turn it, then it'll drop down inside the, you can push it, spring it inside the hub like so. So it's lined up with the bottom part of the hub with the ratchet. And you go ahead and put your top spring on there. Obviously smallest bit downwards this time. So facing the ratchets there. Put that on there. Now you've got your Freehub body itself. Now if you go ahead and put this over and you're wondering why you can't get it on for any reason, then up inside there is a plastic, between the two bearings in there is a plastic collar that moves independently. So if it becomes slightly, if you move it, it can go across the hole slightly. So as you're putting it on and you just can't push it on, so you've got to make sure that when you're looking in there, you've got to line it up so it's, you can see straight through it, and it's lined up. There's a plastic collar just in between the two bearings down in there, a black plastic collar. So just make sure that collar's actually lined up with the bearings. It moves easily, so the slightest movement and it'll drop down. So if it's lined up right, look at it from both sides, then you should be able to slide it, you should be able to drop that over without it fouling on anything, like so. So it's just slid straight over there, like so, like that. It slid straight on, it's just resting on there. Now once you've done that, you can get your end cap, like so. Now what you want to do is, obviously there's a bearing down in there, and even with the cassette on there and the lock ring and everything, doesn't matter, because the water can still get, if you wash your bike a lot and that, the water can still get down past here and then underneath it. So what you want to do is make sure you grease that, because in there also, in here, there's a little rubber O-ring in here, and that goes tight onto that shaft. So make sure that you've got some grease on that end cap and just inside a little bit there where the O-ring is. Now I don't use the red grease for that, obviously. I just use a normal grease like so. I just put some round, just dab it round like that. You've got to put enough on there. Make sure it's not going to get stuck on again. It makes it a lot easier to remove next time if you put grease on like so. And then you can put your end cap back on. So that just sits over there like so. So when you push down on the hub, the end cap is what's holding it in position. So you just push down, you got to get the end cap on there. So if you push down on it, you should hear it just pop into place, and then you know once it's on, then that's it, it's not coming off. Once that's down like so, there you go, it's popped right into place. That's what's holding it together. So once you've got it on there, just spin it a bit, make sure it's okay. And that's the installation complete. I say it's very simple to do. Right, so that's the steps complete. Obviously you can go ahead, put your cassette on, then reinstall the wheel back into your bike. It's relatively simple enough to do. All you need is the special grease, DT Swiss grease, the red grease for the ratchet hubs. That's the only special tool you need. Say they can be, if you've never had it apart before, they can be quite tight to remove the Freehub body off of there. But like I said, if you put it in, if you have the cassette in there and you can pull up on the cassette, then it should come off. Failing that, then you have to put the end cap, like I said, into a vise, just so as you get the you then use the sort of the whole wheel as a lever, and it'll pop off, because the only thing that's holding it, as long as it's not rusted on there, obviously with corrosion, it's just the O-ring inside the end cap that's actually holding it on, believe it or not. But it's still quite obviously tight to remove, because there's not a lot of grease on them from the factory, so they tend to get stuck on. So the best thing to do is, like I showed, have it all apart, grease it up properly, and then next time you want to do it, then you haven't got so much hassle and it's a lot quicker job. It's definitely worth doing. I say, if you use your bike and you've got one of those ratchet hubs and you use it in the wet a lot, then the red grease, it won't survive long in wet conditions. So even if you're washing your bike, it doesn't matter, because the water still gets in there, inside those ratchets, even if you're washing it with a hose pipe. So that red grease washes away eventually. So like I said, if you're using it in wet, dry conditions, not so bad, it lasts quite a long time. If you're using it regularly, you still want to be taking it apart like every few weeks or so, just to re-grease it. But if you're using it in the wet and in the winter, then that's a different story. You've got to be taking it apart, maybe even like once a week really. If you're using it every day, then you'll be surprised how that grease gets washed away in there, and it doesn't take long before it starts ruining it. So yeah, I hope you found the guide helpful. I'll say the ratchet system, you can say take your hub apart. The higher end wheels are the ones that tend to use the ratchet systems in them, like the 350 hubs, the 240 hubs, but they come on a various sets of wheels. Like you could have them on the like PR 1600 die cut, PR 1600 spline. You could have them on a ARC 1100 die cut, a PR 1400 die cut, ER 1400 and 1600 with the ratchet hubs. So they're on a wide variety of the wheels. I'll say they tend to be on the higher end, the slightly higher end wheels, the cheaper wheels in the range. You'll find they got the 3-pull hub on them. I've also I'll put a link to the video. I've got a video on doing a 3-pull hub as well. So if you're not sure which you've got, then you could check out either this video or the one on the 3-pull hub. So anyway, I hope you found it helpful. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and till the next video, ride safe, and I'll see you then.